Athlete of the Year, probably because she was hurt and probably because she was last year's Time Magazine Athlete of the Year. Well, I'm here to tell you they decided to go with another WNBA star. That was A'ja Wilson. Now, A'ja Wilson, to me, shouldn't have got it, bro. She got help from the WNBA referees throughout the whole entire season. Everybody act like they forget that. I mean, they hella cheated against the Fever pretty much.
Watch that. All right, so let's talk about energy for a second, because this isn't just some casual observation or throwaway commentary we're dealing with here. No, this is real, raw frustration that's been building up in real time. And you can feel it radiating through every single conversation about this topic. What you're about to witness is one of those defining moments where an entire fan base, millions of passionate supporters who've been watching every game and tracking every stat, suddenly had this collective realization hit them like a ton of bricks. And that realization? No matter what Caitlin Clark accomplishes on that court, no matter how many records she breaks or how many seats she fills in arenas across the country, there's this segment of the WNBA establishment that will absolutely never, and I mean never, give her the credit she deserves. It's like watching someone score 50 points in a game and having people say, yeah, but let's talk about everyone else. Instead, Time Magazine just dropped their 2025 Athlete of the Year announcement, and they named A'ja Wilson to that prestigious spot. Now, here's the thing. The honor itself, that recognition of her athletic excellence, that's not what sparked this massive controversy that's got everyone from casual fans to sports analysts fired up right now. No. What really got people talking, what really divided the basketball world into camps that are arguing across social media and sports talk shows, was what Wilson actually said in that interview about Clark. Those specific comments are what have the entire basketball community split right down the middle at this very moment.
5% of the growth of the WNBA, pretty much saying that they was going on an upward trajectory before Caitlin Clark got there. Now, here's my answer to it all. I've been following this thing for the last 2.5 years, almost 3 years, and the WNBA died when Caitlin Clark genre took a hit this past season. Caitlin Clark only playing 13 games ultimately killed the WNBA viewership. Look at everybody's numbers. The numbers don't lie. Had Caitlin Clark balled out and had a spectacular season and the Indiana Fever won the WNBA.
Here's what actually happened. Time Magazine published their big feature piece on December 11th, 2024. And look, A'ja Wilson earned her third MVP award, which is absolutely impressive by any standard. Plus, she picked up her second Olympic gold medal in Paris, where she was named tournament MVP on top of everything else. Those accomplishments are 100% legitimate and genuinely impressive. And I want to be clear here, nobody with any sense is actually disputing the validity of those achievements or what Wilson has done for the game. But here's where things get interesting, and by interesting, I mean controversial. Buried deep in that article, tucked away in a way that a lot of people initially missed until fans started dissecting every word, was this statement that basically reduced Caitlin Clark's entire impact on the W, her whole revolutionary effect on the league's visibility and popularity, to just 5% of the league's overall growth. Let me repeat that, 5%. The exact quote from the article, and this is important because the wording matters here, claimed that Clark was almost singularly responsible for salvaging the league, whose foundation had been built by a mostly black player base. Now, that specific phrasing, that word salvaging, implies something pretty significant. It suggests that the WNBA was actively failing, circling the drain, desperately in need of rescue before Clark arrived on the scene, and Wilson's response to that particular narrative, her reaction to how Clark's impact was being framed in relation to the league's history, that's where this whole situation gets really complicated and starts revealing some deeper tensions that have been simmering under the surface for a while now.
Caitlin Clark ball out, and to see if Caitlin Clark's going to be the same Caitlin Clark we remember her to be at Iowa. Now, there was pictures going around yesterday, which we reported on, of Caitlin Clark losing a bunch of weight. Caitlin Clark looking like the old Caitlin Clark she was at Iowa. She lost all the muscle. It's all gone. I believe the muscle could have contributed to Caitlin Clark getting hurt this year. But that's neither here or there. I don't want to keep beating a dead drum. Now, with that being said, we know Caitlin Clark was one of the most...
Let's be completely clear about what the actual numbers show, because this isn't about feelings or narratives or anyone's personal opinion about who deserves credit for what. When Caitlin Clark went down with her knee injury in July 2024, which was a devastating moment for her and her fans, WNBA viewership didn't just dip slightly or experience a minor decline. No, it absolutely dropped by 48% in the game she missed. Think about that for a second. Not 5% like some people want to claim, but 48%, which is nearly half of the audience just vanishing. The Indiana Fever's average viewership during Clark's rookie season was pulling in 1.78 million viewers per game, which, for the WNBA, is absolutely massive, historically unprecedented numbers. But when she was injured and forced to miss 13 games, sitting on the sidelines while her team played without their star attraction, their viewership completely collapsed to just 394,000 viewers. Let me put that in perspective. That's a two-thirds decline, a catastrophic drop that any network executive would be panicking about. ESPN, in what seems like an attempt to soften the blow and make the numbers look less dramatic, tried changing how they calculated ratings entirely. They started adding in streaming numbers that they hadn't previously counted in their official viewership metrics, also they could claim that viewership only dropped 5 to 6%. Which, technically, might be true if you completely change your methodology mid-season. But here's the thing, anyone who is actually tracking the game-by-game numbers, the people who are watching this unfold in real time and comparing week-to-week data, saw the true impact clear as day.
Only part I found it to be shocking was how far down she was. Now, this was the most Googled people in all of 2025. Now, I did a video on my other channel because, you know, I do support Shedeur Sanders, big advocate for him. So this was good for him, you know what I'm saying, and his brother Shiloh Sanders to be on this list. But this is bad for Caitlin Clark not to be in top 5 or top 10.
Great for Sophie Cunningham. Seriously, good for her and her success. Now, here's where Wilson's comments to Time magazine reveal this much deeper tension that's been brewing in the league, something that goes far beyond just stats and viewership numbers. She told the magazine, and this is a direct quote, "It wasn't a hit at me because I'm going to do me regardless. No matter what anyone says or what narratives people push, I'm going to win the MVP. I will win a gold medal. Y'all can't shake my resume because my accomplishments speak for themselves." It was more about, let's not lose the recipe. Let's not lose the history and the foundation that generations of players built before any of this current attention arrived. It was erased for a minute. And I don't like that at all because we have tons of women, incredible athletes, who paved the way, who have been through this league's struggles and growth over decades. That statement right there, that specific framing, positions Clark's arrival as somehow erasing WNBA history. Like her popularity is actually damaging the league's legacy rather than building on top of the foundation previous generations created. And that framing, that particular way of looking at the situation, completely ignores a fundamental reality that we need to talk about. Honestly, the league was averaging 399,000 viewers before Clark's rookie season started, before she played her first professional game. That's not a thriving foundation of viewership that was steadily growing year over year. That's not a league on the verge of mainstream breakthrough. That's a league that was genuinely struggling for relevance in the crowded American sports landscape, fighting for attention against every other entertainment option available to modern audiences.
The most popular women's basketball player in the world. Now let's move on to the story of the hour. The story of the hour is, as soon as you type Caitlin Clark name on X, find this: fan defends Caitlin Clark passes shooting. Ben Shea said it this. So this is the article that came out with A'ja Wilson being on the cover. You know, so this was it, and this is it. And I don't really care for A'ja Wilson, guys. I just got to be honest.
But the real issue here, the thing that's really got fans upset and divided, isn't just about television ratings and viewership statistics. It goes so much deeper than that. It's about how the WNBA's established players, the veterans who were already stars when Clark arrived, have actually treated the person who is directly responsible for their increased salaries, their expanded endorsement deals. and their dramatically improved visibility in mainstream sports media. Remember the physical play that Clark endured during her entire rookie season, game after game of rough treatment. The flagrant fouls that somehow went uncalled by referees who seemed to have a different standard for her than for other players. The shoulder checks and hip checks that were so obvious and so aggressive they would have drawn immediate technical fouls or even ejections in any other context, or with any other player. Wilson's Las Vegas Aces played the Fever multiple times throughout the season, and in their June 29th matchup specifically, there was this sequence that really stands out when you go back and watch the footage. Clark got fouled so blatantly on a drive to the basket, so obviously, that even the broadcast crew, who usually try to stay neutral, called it out immediately, expressing surprise that no whistle was blown. No call from the refs whatsoever. Wilson then scored on the other end, taking advantage of the momentum shift, and the referees let it stand without any review or second thought. That pattern, that specific dynamic of allowing rough play against Clark while protecting established stars, repeated itself throughout the entire season. The league's referees consistently protected established stars through their whistle decisions while simultaneously allowing rookies, and specifically Clark, to absorb contact and physical punishment that would have immediately sent other players to the free throw line or resulted in flagrant foul calls.
I can't shake my resume. It was more so let's not lose the recipe. Let's not lose the history. It was erased for a minute, and I don't like that because we have tons of women that have been through this, blah, 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 blah. And it goes on to say, the 2025 WNBA campaign provided a measure of vindication of many players, despite Caitlin Clark missing most of the season with an injury, something Wilson, to be clear, did not cheer viewership for both the.
And then there's the Google Trends data that completely and totally contradicts Wilson's narrative about Clark's impact being minimal or overstated. In 2025, when you look at the actual search data that shows what people were interested in, only one WNBA player made the top 10 most Googled athletes list in the entire world across all sports. And here's the kicker. It wasn't Caitlin Clark sitting in that spot. It was Sophie Cunningham at number 7, which is fantastic for her. Clark didn't even crack the top 10 most searched athletes. Now, Wilson supporters and people who want to minimize Clark's impact will point to that specific data point and say, see? This proves Clark's impact is completely overblown. The media created this narrative that doesn't match reality. But here's what they're deliberately missing, what they're choosing to ignore because it doesn't fit their argument. Clark was injured for most of the 2025 season, sitting out while recovering from serious knee injuries. She only played 13 games before those injuries sidelined her for the remainder of the year, taking her out of the spotlight and off the court during what should have been her continued ascension. The fact that WNBA interest collapsed dramatically during her absence, that viewership numbers plummeted and casual fan engagement dropped off a cliff, actually proves the complete opposite of what they're trying to argue. When Clark wasn't playing basketball, when she wasn't on the court making plays and drawing attention, casual fans who had discovered the WNBA through her just stopped watching. The league's core audience, the dedicated fans who've supported the WNBA through thick and thin, remained loyal and kept watching. But that explosive growth, that mainstream breakthrough moment that brought millions of new eyeballs to the league, completely disappeared.